Hi, all. Welcome back to this week's episode of Love Dripping from the Walls. I'm your host, Elizabeth Cunningham, and this week's episode is all about dating during the coronavirus. This coronavirus seems to be going on and on and on, and as we are not going to talk about the political side of that right now, we're going to focus on dating, relationships, love, sex, all of that jazz. And today we have Jess Garcia. She is a love and partnership coach. So stay tuned for our episode. All right, before we get into today's episode, just a few orders of business. So, first and foremost, I am super excited to announce that I have new open slots for my one on one coaching. So, if you're interested in being a one on one coaching client of mine and have love dripping from the walls of your life and chat with me every single week, please get a hold of me. There is a link that says one-on-one coaching in the show notes. Just go ahead and click on that and book your free discovery call with me. The second order of business is that if you'd like to support this podcast, you can go ahead and do that. Again, it is in the show notes. Just scroll on down to the support this podcast section. The third order of business, if you want to stay updated on future episodes, then go ahead and follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. I rarely ever post on Twitter, but if you really feel like following me on Twitter, you totally can. So there you are. There you have it. There is our orders of business. So if you want to do one-on-one coaching, if you want to support the podcast, and if you want to follow on social media, just go ahead and do that right now. All right. Love y'all. And here we are with our episode. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast again.
Thank you for having me again. I'm so excited.
Now it's a video cast, so now people can see how fabulous we are, obviously. Now we're talking about how we make believe that we're fabulous, but we actually are really fabulous.
Yeah, you don't see the sweats on underneath this.
Totally, exactly. I absolutely have yoga pants on right now.
Yeah, I have leggings. I have cool little leggings on. The uniform of quarantine 2020.
Exactly.
Cute top, meh bottoms.
Oh my God. So why we are recording this episode today, and first of all, for those of you who don't know Miss Jess Garcia, here she is. This is Jess Garcia.
Hi, everybody.
So she was on a previous episode where we talked about dating on that episode as well, because you are a dating and relationship coach.
Yep, dating and partnership coach. Yep.
Dating and partnership coach, that's right.
Yep.
Dating and partnership coach.
The only reason why I make the distinction is because dating is its own beast, but partnerships go across all borders. And so that could be work, that could be your partnership with your child, that could be your partner, that could be your friends, that could be your parents, just all the partnerships that we have inside of life. It could be your neighbors. And so inside of the coaching, while the intention is within dating and love and romantic and whatever, sometimes the lesson goes across all borders. So that's why I added dating and partnership coaching, because it all applies. How you are in one relationship, you are in many.
Yes.
So
yeah, I love that distinction. It's so true that we really are. How we are in one relationship applies to all relationships. It's weird. We're just ourselves all the time, no matter how hard we try.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thank you so much for coming on today. And I'm really excited to talk to you about dating in these interesting times that we are living in. And there's
Love in the
so
time of the Rona.
yeah, like, well, because it's not only coronavirus, right? Like it's coronavirus, it's the Black Lives Movement. It's we're in the middle of a presidential election year, which
Yeah.
like is so odd that there's so much stuff going on that's like the third or fourth thing down the list.
Yeah. And
Um,
how we are in one is how we are in many. Can I
and
get an amen?
yep, amen.
I mean, it's no laughing matter, but it's interesting.
Yeah, well, definitely from a coaching point of view, because as coaches, you know, we study people, we study relationships, especially with us. You know, I'm a love coach, and you're a dating and partnership coach, and so we pay attention to and study, and our whole business and life is about how people are and how they interact with each other. And it is that how you are in one area of your life is exactly how you are in another area of your life. It's just a different topic with a slightly different flavor, but it's the exact same thing. So I'm really curious about like how people are handling dating during the corona times. I've talked a little bit about it with people, but since I don't deal like specifically with dating, it's only something that I've just minusculely covered. So how are people dealing with this?
I think that, so the first part, I think, well, there was like this whole process of grief, right? There was this period where they're like, oh, this is serious. Oh, no, this is like serious. Like, okay, crap, I could die if I don't listen. It was almost like, and I hate to equate this, but it's almost like the AIDS outbreak, where you had to really take a moment to consider your life choices. You know what I mean? Because it could be like you die. Yeah. And so we had to, and we've been really lax over the years. Let's just keep it real. People have been really lax about their sexual health and their dating responsibilities, and, you know, where they're meeting people and how safely they're meeting people online, and all. There's all these considerations. And then it became the norm. Yeah. And then people got lax about the rules. And it's how we are in one is how we are in many. So we get alerted. We decide whether we believe it or not. And then we get somewhat a taste of it. And then we go, oh crap, this is real. And then we get super like anal retentive about things and keep the rules and structures and all the things. And then, you know, then they get sad about it. Same process happened with the coronavirus. It's like, you know, they didn't believe it. Then they got a taste of it. And then they got really crazy, like, you know, depressed about it. Cause they're like, wait, well, how, especially for people who are like not dating or were like openly dating, not exclusively dating. Does that make sense? Like openly, like socializing, social dating,
right? Like maybe
versus
going on like multiple dates,
yeah,
or like a date with a different person every week or something.
Yeah, like non-committal, not committed dating, right? For people who were committed dating, then you had a select choice set, right? You could be like, okay, did you quarantine this week or not? Because if you didn't, then you know, where have you been? What have you done to be safe, right? Like you had to like go down the survey list of like whether or not you were going to interact with this person.
Yeah,
so you had to kind of like, so there's like people in different sets. There are people like who were single, not dating, not like connected to anybody, and that had a little bit of grief. And so there's just people in different phases as we kind of progressed, and depending on where they started the quarantine and the pandemic pause, as I call, you know, where they were when it started to now, there was sort of like this weird grieving process. And then, you know, then the phases started coming back in, like the phasing in and socializing or meeting people on like hiking trails or whatever. Sorry, we're in the Pacific Northwest. That's a thing we do here for the listeners who are like, what? So
like, we have so many great public parks.
Totally.
I've definitely seen a couple of public park dates.
Yeah.
I live by Gasworks.
Yeah. So that, you know, that's a thing. So now that we've kind of leaned up a little bit, people are wearing masks, you know, they're kind of just processing like what is the new normal, because the normal to get back to normal, that is not a thing. The normal back then did not work for us, clearly. So people are just in different places, I find. And now, you know, a couple months in now, people are starting to reach out to me again, and they're like, hey, so are you still doing your course? Are you doing coaching again? You know, because they're trying to figure out what's the new normal. And I think that's why they're reaching out, like, help me process this, you know. And so, you know, the dating Yoda, like the Yenta Yoda mix is me, right?
You are the total Yenta Yoda dating coach. You totally are, though.
I mean, so people are starting to reach out now. They're wanting to do like group programs again. And I think that they just want a safe way to connect. Mm-hmm. And I think a little bit too is that people are starting to question their choices a little bit more, being a little more selective, and then questioning their selection process. Their selection process before is a little different now. They have a little more filters, little different filters maybe. So that's changed too.
Interesting. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, I want to ask you about that, but what you said was really interesting, where it seems like there was a period where people were like, well, I'm just going to wait until things go back to normal. And then as we have, you know, we're in month 4 now. So now it seems that totally makes sense to me, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's just like, people are now like, okay, well, how do I navigate this? So then they would like start okay, well, I got to do something, because like, if this is what we're dealing with, this is what we're dealing with. Yeah. And I really do want to date people and like love on people. So how am I going to do that? So it makes total sense that there was kind of like a dip and then a rise, right? Mm-hmm. That makes total sense to me. So now, and I'm so interested. Okay, so what are people like? Say more about people being more selective. I really like that. Like, on the surface, I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have always been more selective, but that's just my flavor, right? So, you know, I think people are starting to question people's choices. Mm-hmm. So for instance, you know, like I've been seeing someone since September. And, you know, I hate the term quarantine babe, but that was what, you know, like we've been seeing each other through the thing. He was my person, you know, my social outlet, you know, and even I was like, okay, what did you do this week? Where did you go? Did you take care of yourself? How are you feeling? Do you have any temperatures? Like, before I would even go to his house, you know, and I like, that's where I would go. I'd go home, his house, the supermarket. That was pretty much all I went to for 3 months. So, and even now it's like, I've added my friend's house and the march for Juneteenth, like, you know, it's very selective. Like, I have to know that. And then if he went out with his friends, you know, because he has a podcast and he does recording with his 5 friends and, you know, the whole thing. I'm like, where did they go? Where have they been? Like, are they safe? Or do they believe in the health thing? So, you know, you kind of have to go up the chain a bit.
That's so funny, because, you know, like that's what poly people do, you know, like that's like the polyamorous world, you know what I mean? It's like, who have you been sleeping with? Who have they been sleeping with? Has everyone been using protection? Oh my gosh, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's now kind of like normal conversation for people even in monogamous relationships. Yep. You know,
totally. I mean, and it should always have been in the conversation, I think, in dating, right? Because like, how you are in one is how you are in many. How are your friends? Who are your friends? Who are these close people you spend time with? And what are they doing about it? You know, you could apply that to Black Lives Matter. Like, who are your friends? How are they handling things? Where are they putting their money? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are they supporting? What are they saying? How are you having conversations and holding them accountable? Like, you know, like, you have to really dance inside of the conversation, because now let's stretch it forward rather than backward. Let's stretch it forward. Now you're dating this person and their friends are around, and now they're your people, right? Because they're in your orbit. And now their behaviors reflect on you, and your behaviors reflect on them. And like how you interact is now altered, right? So you have to look like these are going to be people in your circle moving forward if you do decide to move, forward with the relationship. So you should know about their families, about their friends, about their habits, about, it's the pre-screening process that should have been in place that people have been skipping for decades.
Yeah. I mean, just mic drop. Yep. Mic drop.
I'm all about the mic drops. We'll just start the counter right now.
Mic drop 1. Like, I love that it's illuminated itself in the dating world as well, and like inside of this, higher selection process where it's like, yo, I think you're cute, but what the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, and really having those hard conversations right away. That's amazing. Like, that skips years. Years.
Dude, sorry, I called you dude, but like, I'm just so hyped about this point, right? Because like, there are people that get married and they have no idea about their partner's finances. I'm like, why hasn't that been why isn't that in a conversation by year 1? I'm sorry. Don't get married before you start talking finances and kids and health and, life insurance. Like, why are you even contemplating such future projections without these conversations? I'm just saying. So a lot of people that I coach look at me funny when I say this, but I always tell people, like, you have a year. You have up to a year in my life to show up. And I'm talking about, I'm taking my flashlight and going into all the deep, dark corners, and you go show yourself, right? And if you keep like everything to the vest, I'm like, I'm sorry, your year is up. You need to go away. You're a waste of my time. You know what I mean? Like, you stop when it's like not fun or whatever, or like, you can't progress. I mean, you choose when your line is up, but like, if at a year, I don't know specific information. I don't know your mama's name, your daddy's name. I've never met him. I don't know that you have 3 kids in Tijuana. So if I don't know these things, anything beyond that year mark that I find is it's just a nail in your coffin at that point. I'm like, we are done. So I do my damnedest research the first year. I'm not going to spend or waste more than that time, that allotted time. And you can choose for yourself what your border is. But like, it's got, you have to set a limit for yourself, for your life, because you have to stand for what you're out to create in your life. And you have to choose that before you meet your partner. Like, yes, they'll impact your life, and, but at some point you have to align yourselves, like, true yourself up to each other. Like, are we even on a similar path? Is it even remotely parallel? Is it even like remotely going the same way? Right. So, I do all this stuff up front. So people that don't have conversations, like the deep, dark corners, I'm just like, wow. I'm just dumbfounded at that point. Because you've wasted how many years, to finally get engaged in like year 7. And you haven't had these conversations.
Yeah, it really is. It truly is amazing to me. And, it goes back to like, the question, why do you need a dating coach, right? And this is exactly it, is because people, in my opinion, and obviously you can speak more to that, but in my opinion, like, this is exactly why you need a dating coach, is not only that you have the wherewithal to ask those questions, but you have the wherewithal to ask those questions of yourself as well. Because I went through your dating coach program, and it was awesome. I loved it. And
I'm so glad.
Yes, I loved it. And one of the things that I loved about it was that you get used to, like, as a participant, you get used to answering those questions about yourself. And when you're able to, and my coaching is like, it all starts with you. Like, that's the thing that I say all the time. It's like, It all starts with you, because when you're able to have those those conversations with yourself, and you're able to go into all your, dark corners, and you call it your attic. And I love
Yep.
that when you're
Yep.
able to like go up and like clean out your attic. It's like you can, you have a firm place to stand in having those conversations with another person.
Yep.
Right? And if
Yep.
they're not willing to go there with you, then it's like, okay, well, I need someone who's willing to go there with me.
Yeah. Because
Right?
that's all dating is. It's just a willingness to spend time and discover and create. That's all it is. That's all life is, really, when you boil it down, right? When you're with your partner, what are you doing? Having conversations, exploring each other's lives, creating, co-creating magic. I stole that from my girlfriend, Tali. I'll give her a little credit, little asterisk. Co-created magic is what you do with your partner. And then you create a future that you feel is aligned with what you're out to create, right? Like that's literally what life is.
Yeah.
So why would you skip over the important parts and like not ask those questions? Like, and I'm so glad you did the coaching, because like I tell all you guys at the end, every single homework assignment for those 6 weeks is an icebreaker question that has 1,000,001 deep dive veins. So if you're dating a person on week 1, ask them all those questions. On week 2, ask all those questions. Ask all those questions. And, if they're willing to even dive a little bit into any of those questions, you've got a nice green light. You can revisit it. You can, dive deeper. You can put a pin in something if it's uncomfortable. And that's okay. They can like request like, all right, I'm not really comfortable sharing that. Okay. Yeah. Can we revisit it in the future? Totally. And then that's it. It's totally fine. Yeah. But the willingness is really important to really discover each other and explore and have fun while you're doing it. It doesn't have to be painful either.
I love that. Yeah, that was my next question, was about like, because I don't want it to sound like that first year, you're just like drilling this person, like, tell me every dark secret about your life. This is now or never, like.
It's all like what is it? The $1 million question. What's the show? Do you want to be a millionaire? All the lights start shifting. Like, you're on the hot seat. You want to phone a friend.
Right, exactly. Because that's not a fun dating experience. Like, no one's gonna open up to you if you like turn it into this like drill sergeant, like, light spectacle, whatever. So it's like, okay, so how do you how do you coach people in like making it fun and lighthearted, and like how do you have those like really deep dive questions and still have this like juicy, like meaningful relationship with someone?
Yeah, I mean, and I will loop it back to the quarantining and how to be carefully dating, right? So just to kind of throw a little net over it. So, inside of like, if you're doing a hike or a park walk or something, you're meeting up with people, what are you going to do? Just walk next to each other quietly? Like, no, you can just ask a question. Or, it could be like, oh, I love this view. Where have you ever had a better view than this? And that could be like on a vacation story, where you lived story. Maybe they grew up in another country, another state. I mean, that is like opening the floodgates to like 1,000,001 things. Oh, was it the view out of your living room or your bedroom? Oh, what did that look like? Get an idea of what their decor looks like. I don't know. You could just go down 1,000,000 roads. And I totally get, little asterisk, I'm a Gemini and I can create all kinds of justifications and questions. That's kind of a Gemini skill set, but but that's how you ask. You could be playing pool, and you're kind of 6 feet, the table's between you, and you're having a drink, or I don't know, wherever, you can be anywhere. And if you're outside at a cafe or a bar that has one of those fire pit tables, that's where I went for my birthday lunch with the dinner with the girls. I was like, I'll only go to dinner if it's just a handful of us and it's outdoor patio seating. And this one just happened to have a fire pit table.
Oh, what?
Bomb diggity. So, but you could be sitting there, and just having a conversation. And, where's the best bonfire you've ever been to? Or, when's the first time you played pool? Just extrapolate from there. You can have all these conversations. Just be, this phrase, curiously engaged.
Yes.
where you just are playful. You can actually be playful in just asking the questions. It doesn't have to be like, bright detective light, in their eyes and they're like deer in the headlights or something. It could just be playful banter and chatter and just ask, the random questions, like, is this the first time you've done this? What was your favorite story on this? Or, just kind of, you just dig slightly. It's like wax on, wax off, you just kind of go slowly going through the questions, and then you feel them out and then welcome the question back or offer the answer also, because it's not just one direction. So that's the other thing. Yeah, it's not an interrogation. It's not the Spanish Inquisition. Like, offer up the answers, and as well as the question. Because sometimes people are like, they'll answer and then they won't ask something back. Like they're a little bunch of weirdos. But anyway, so I'm like, if you ask me a question, I'm going to ask you one back. But if they happen to not, some people really like to share themselves abundantly. Yeah. And that's awesome because you get this whole wealth of information. And sometimes you have to like pause it, because sometimes it's like, I don't want to binge watch the whole series, buddy. Like, we can put a pin after 2 episodes and and then share something of yourself, or like, oh my god, that's so interesting, and I like kind of turn it so that you can share. You also want to make sure that you are sharing yourself and not just receiving data. So you can always kind of wind the conversation, because you also want to know if they're listening. Some people just love talking about themselves, but
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I know nothing about this. But you kind of like, then you share about yourself and then you ask them a question, and and I guess it takes a little maneuvering, and I don't want to say the word manipulating, but it is maneuvering a conversation, and it's a skill set. And the only way you really strengthen that skill is to use it. Take notes on the body language and their facial expressions, because you could only see from here down now. So, check out the eyebrows and the eyes, whatever. It's so
check out the posture of the chest.
The posture, are they leaning in? Are they touching their hair for the guys? Stuff like that. So I think this is kind of also bringing us back to the beginning. And what I mean by that is we have to use more of ourselves inside of dating now. We need more in that, this is not like hookup culture anymore. This isn't like, oh, let me test drive the vehicle and then, take it for a spin, right, and then see if I liked it or want to do it again.
Right.
This is, I have to know whether I even want to risk myself out next to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a little, so this is a little taking back a little time, doing a little Zoom calls, a little FaceTime calls, and you can, cook a meal. I started writing this whole article for Astro Style, and I ended up not writing it, like not finishing it or publishing it. But it was like all the ways through quarantine that you can kind of like date without being in the same room. So, for instance, a lot of museums opened up navigating the exhibits, and you could like go to the Louvre and go check out a wing. You know what I mean? And you can say, go pick a wing. I'll pick a wing. We'll come back in 30 minutes and we'll, discuss a piece of art that we really enjoyed and screenshot it, or so, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And you get to share an experience. Yes, you didn't get to walk the Louvre with them, but you can, future date when, Europe opens the doors to us Americans again. They can, that's a whole nother, but like you can plan a trip, or like, different mountains, different hiking ranges had videos of their area. What's your favorite hike? What's the view from the top of that, or whatever, there's just, or recipes. You can cook and bake together.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing. It's a lot more fun than people think.
No, I have definitely gone on a virtual date before, and this was actually before quarantine, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
This was just like
What did you do?
me and this guy in Chicago. Oh my God, can I tell the story about my date?
Why you think I just asked? Girl, tell me.
Okay, so this is what happened. This was my virtual date, and it was a year and a half before quarantine. It was me and this guy from Chicago connected, and he was like, "Oh, if I lived in Seattle, I would totally ask you out." And I was like, "Oh my God, if you lived in Seattle, I would totally say yes." And I was like, "Wait, hold on, like." I can create whatever I want. Duh. Hello. So let's go on a virtual date. And he was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I don't know. We're making it up right now." And and so I was like, "Okay, we're gonna pick a day and a time, and because we have to also like do the time difference as well. So it's like, okay, we're gonna pick a day and a time. I'm gonna plan my date for you, and you're gonna plan your date for me, and then we're just gonna like take turns,
Nice.
like showing each other like our dates." And so what I did was our date was around sunset, because it was like later on in the year. I think it was like end of November, beginning of December, when our sunset's around like 5 o'clock here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took him to Cary Park at sunset, super romantic,
Good pick.
the entire skyline of Seattle, like in the background. And like, I don't mind being a weirdo in public. I have no problem. And so I'm like standing up on a bench on FaceTime, like looking at this guy, and then like showing him the background like behind me, and I'm like, "This is a sunset like in Seattle." And he's like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful." And so then after that, he did his thing, and he took me to an ice cream shop where they have like rolled ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I've seen it. I've had it. It's good.
Oh
Awesome.
my
Keep
God,
going.
I've never had it. He ate it for me. I couldn't eat it.
What did he choose? Chocolate, vanilla, what?
Cookies and cream, which was my favorite. He goes, "Okay, since you can't be here," he's like, "you can choose which one I want." And I was like, "What if I choose one that you don't like?" And he was like, "Come on, like, be real.
It's
Like,
ice cream.
it's ice cream." And I was like, "Okay, well, if I were there, I would choose cookies and cream." And so he got that, and then we both went back to our own apartments, and then we cooked dinner together. And so I put him in the cupboard, and because Jess
Yeah.
is in my old apartment, so I put him in the cupboard so that I could like talk to him and cook at the same time. And he was cooking, and then we just had dinner together.
There you
And
go.
then afterwards, like, he hung out on his couch. Like, I went to my room. We just kept chatting. It got a little sexy, but not like super sexy. But it got a little sexy, and it was just like so fun. It was literally like 6 or 7 hours like on FaceTime with this guy.
Longer than most dates, girl.
Right. It was so much fun. Like at the end we were like, "Do we want to do this again?" And we were like, "Hell yeah, like this is awesome." It ended up like nothing ever ended up like really coming of that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of one of those, like, if he ever comes to Seattle, open invitation to like hang out. If I ever go to Chicago, open invitation to hang out. So like nothing serious ever came about it, but it was just so much fun, and we just made it up. We just made it up the whole time. We were just like, "Oh well, now we want to do this, and wouldn't that be whatever."
Yeah. And you really have no limits, really.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's a great opportunity to show your personality, show, what you're about, and, just offer something. It's just an opportunity to offer something that doesn't have to cost a damn penny, for the budget conscious and, especially these troubling, unprecedented times and, whatever. So, but realistically, it doesn't have to cost anything, and you can have a meal together, or like, I suggested this game of like, check your pantry, check your fridge, pick 3 items for me to put into this recipe, and then like make something out of it from nothing, right? And so, you're challenged, and then you show your dish and you taste it and you're like, not bad, so, or you pick a recipe for somebody to, make, and then they go on a scavenger hunt to the supermarket and pick up all the things and whatever, you could do all kinds of crazy things. You can go to the park and show a sunset or a sunrise. You can, do all kinds of things.
Even send them food.
You could Grubhub something.
Yeah, you could just, even if you live in a different city, you can call up a restaurant. If you have their address,
Yep.
you can call up a restaurant and be
Yeah.
like, I'm sending this meal, to this person. You can even buy somebody dinner. You don't even have to be in the same place.
That's right. That's right. There's, the limit is your imagination. And I think that you need that whether you're in person or not. You need your imagination to create new dates. And girl, I had a whole fail during this quarantine. So I'll quickly share this story. So the guy I've been seeing, he had done some like a few date ideas like back to back. He was like, it's your turn. I want you to create a date for me. I was like, okay, all right. Girl, failed. Epic fail times 2.
Oh no.
So the first thing was I was like a Groupon thing. Groupon is great for dates, by the way. So Groupon or Living Single if they're not Living Social if they're still open. So Groupon, he loves soup dumplings. I'm like, so do I. So he had mentioned at one point that he wanted to learn how to make these soup dumplings, and I'm like, cool, writing it down in the back of my head, right? And so Groupon had a cooking class for 2 at this particular place, and it just so happened to be the dumplings. And I was like, boom, done, sold, whatever. And it was a high price ticket kind of thing, but it was worth it, right? Because you get dinner.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, you know what? Boom, done. We're doing this. Yeah. Corona said, halt. So that, and then part 2 of that one is that they just recently opened up the classes and the dumplings came up again. And it wasn't just Corona that put it on a halt. They didn't have the dumpling class available in Seattle. They had it in other towns, but not Seattle. And I'm like, I just bought something like the other day, like 2 days ago, and you have nothing available. So that has to be halted. And then Corona hit, and then they opened up, and I booked a class, and it was down in like Capitol Hill or something.
Yep.
So up hut 2. So that got rejected. So I booked it thinking, okay, they're really brave. They're gonna do this. They're gonna like have a small class. This is gonna happen. Yeah, no. Strike 2 on that dumpling making business. So that's a pause on that date. Second date option, he also loves to paint. He's an artist like his mom.
Oh, fun.
And he had mentioned he's got a bunch of her paintings in his house. He's got one of his. And I'm like, ooh, look at you, boo. So then I was like, okay, so I go, let's do a paint by numbers date.
Yeah, totally.
I was like, okay, cool. I know it's going to take like 4 or 5 sessions because it takes a long time to do those big paint by numbers, but it'd be cool to have some wine, watch a movie, paint, a couple date nights.
Totally.
So I didn't know these were ordered from China. COVID strike number 2 on my date. I ordered it April 7th. That bad boy has still not made it off the ship.
No.
Still not cleared customs. But I noticed in their Facebook chat room for the people that buy these paintings, they were like, never fear, I ordered mine 3 months ago, I just got it today, woohoo. And I'm like, all right, 3 months. 3 months is next week, by the way.
3 months is next week.
So July 7th, I'm praying that I get my paint by numbers because I ordered us 2 so that we could each have one.
Oh no.
Oh, girl, when I tell you, Heartbreak City. So that was 2 bad dates. And I'm like, damn it. So my imagination failed me a little bit. Well, the world failed me. But, never fear. I let him know. He was totally understanding. He was like, those are really epic dates, babe. I was like, I know. But, so it's like the wish of a date that's like hanging, the anticipation.
Yeah.
It's like that song, Anticipation. So, so we're just waiting to do these dates when it's clear. But,
But that's the thing about like not having it get you down, right? Like, because even though they failed, like you're still having fun. You're still like, it's a thing. Like now we can laugh about it. Hopefully I get my paintings. Like,
and then we have 4 or 5 dates out of that. Whatever. So, and it's just, you can create whatever you want and you can laugh about it. And since then we've cooked, we've baked, we've hiked, we've, done all kinds of things. So I mean, we went on we got pedicures when the phasing happened. So for my birthday, I got a pedicure. It was the best thing ever. 3 months without a pedi. Oh, that was joy. You have no idea. I had to like sign my life away at the door, and then they had hand sanitizer, and then they did the thermal check, and they had clear screens on everything. I'm like, I don't care what I have to do, just do these toes. So we sat together and had pedicures, and that was great. You know, just little things. You know, we went home, we cooked, and it was, you know, you can create whatever you want, you know, and it's a good testament also. A little caveat to all of this is, how do you deal with challenging times? How do you partner with this person? How do they deal with, you know, this stuff? Because, you know, the guy I was dating, he was an essential employee, and then they made him unessential, like not him specifically, but his type of work.
Yeah.
His type of work was not essential at one for a period of time. And then, you know, he was home, and he was, you know, was really upset and sad. And, you know, we hung out and stuff like that, but he was really down about it for a while. I was like, don't worry, it'll open. I'm just trying to keep positive, you know, and I'm still working, and I'm like, you know, doing my thing. And, you know, and then he got to work again, and he hasn't stopped since. He's like done overtime. Like he's like not stopping whatsoever. Oh, he couldn't go to the gym, so he was upset about that. And, you know, it's just like, whoa, you know, so just getting to see it. I'm probably divulging too much information, but sorry. But, you know, people, how they deal with not having their outlets. So gym, if working out is very important to this person, and they can't make it to a gym or have their trainer, you know, that's upsetting. You know, if they can't work and have their natural expression of work be available, or, you know, money wasn't terribly a concern for him, but it could be for a lot of people. You know, they're living paycheck to paycheck, or, you know, close, or just, you know, just require all of that. If they have children or whatever, you know, if they had their child at home, some people were going crazy about that, you know, or some people were loving that. They got to spend a great deal of time with their kids again. That was, you know, new. So, you know, just seeing how people deal with troubling times is also a good thing to see, I think, you know?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a testament to people's personality as well. And not to say that people need to handle everything perfectly, because none of us do. But are you going to be a victim about it? Are you going to be positive about it? Are you going to get creative and find solutions? Are you going to, you know, take what's available to you and work with it? Like, you know, it's those types of things, right? That are really illuminating for someone's personality and like who you want to spend your time with. Again, kind of going back to, not kind of, going back to about having that year period of, you know, who is this person? Are we compatible? Is this someone that I want to dedicate my time to? I think that my time is really precious. That's what I get out of you saying that.
Yeah.
Is having that respect, like self-respect, for your time.
Yep.
Right. It's just like, this is my life. This is my time. I'm not here to waste it. Like, you're on the train or you're off the train. Like,
yep.